So I moved to Salt Lake City 3 years ago, and it was complete culture shock. I wanted to take the time today to talk about the pros and cons of living in Salt Lake City in 2023. And I'll give a better take than Shaquille O'Neal.
I've been struggling this week and I ain't got no hey man, these people going to heaven up this way. Ain't nothing to do with this boring ass city. That was boring? Boring, ain't nothing to do with it. It's a great city, but ain't nothing to do here. These people all going to heaven. I never ate so much room service in my life. Can't smoke, can't drink. These people going to heaven.
That's the first thing we're talking about here, fry sauce. So I'm gonna start off with a pro. And the first pro of Salt Lake City is the fry sauce. Yeah, I said it, the fry sauce. I doubt there's any restaurant you could go to that doesn't serve fry sauce. Even fast food chains like McDonald's, Burger King carry fry sauce. I did a little bit of research into fry sauce, and in my research, I found out that fry sauce allegedly came from two teenagers working at a burger joint in Provo, Utah. They just mixed together mayo and ketchup. They shared it with the customers, and everyone loved it. It became so popular, even Heinz Ketchup made a version to sell on store shelves. Another aspect I want to talk about in Utah that is a positive is the access and availability of nature. The amount of outdoor activities you can do in Salt Lake City is outrageous. From hiking to biking to skiing and snowboarding, there is an abundance of sports and activities to do in Salt Lake City year round. And you're not very far from it at all. With most of the hikes being along the eastern Wasatch Mountain Range, you're never more than 20 to 30 minutes away from a hike. And if you bought the Icon Pass, Salt Lake City has 10 world-renowned ski resorts within an hour radius. And Utah also claims to have the best snow in the world. They even put it on their license plate. Utah is host to the Mighty 5 national parks, Zion being the most famous among them and the most visited, and only being a 4 to 5 hour drive from the heart of Salt Lake City. And before I move on from the nature, I just want to talk about the views of Salt Lake City. I really haven't been anywhere in the city that I don't see a spectacular view of the mountains, especially when there's snow cap. I know a lot of people in the city get bored and they just go for a drive down the canyon, but Utah isn't all positive. Actually, it was easier to come up with cons than pros, but we did our best. I was told this by a local when I first moved to Salt Lake City that there are two seasons, winter and construction. And he was not lying. Since I've lived in Salt Lake City, I-15, 215, I-80, or side roads have always been under construction. And that really doesn't help with the traffic. Although the roads in Salt Lake City are very wide, sometimes 4 to 5 lanes wide, including the HOV lane, traffic is still a really big problem here. Especially that Salt Lake City has seen a population boom in the last 5 years, where over 30,000 people have moved to the Salt Lake metropolitan area alone. And all that leads into my next point, the job market. So many people are moving to Salt Lake City because the job market in Salt Lake City is so strong. With an unemployment rate of 2.2%, beating the national average of 3.6%, with the top 5 sectors in Salt Lake City being 1, manufacturing, 2, real estate and rental leasing, 3, professional scientific and technical services, 4, being information, and 5, being finance and insurance. There are many others like healthcare and education that rank up there. They're just not in the top 5. But overall, a majority of the industries in Salt Lake City have seen nothing but growth. And with such a strong job market, it makes a lot of people feel comfortable raising a family here. Salt Lake City is very family oriented. Most of the activities you find around Salt Lake, you could take a kid along with. Besides hiking in nature, Salt Lake City has a zoo, an aquarium, a natural history museum, and an amusement park as well. Now, that point doesn't lead into my next point, which is the weather. Now, the weather in Salt Lake City is really on both ends of the spectrum. I love it and I hate it at the same time. You really do get all 4 seasons here, but the spring and fall are very short compared to the summer and winter. So a majority of the time is either blazing hot or freezing cold. But a positive to this is there's not much humidity, especially when I compare to where I'm from, South Carolina, where most days there's 100% humidity. There's typically 0 humidity in Salt Lake City. Now, a really big problem Salt Lake City is facing is a drought. Now, this isn't the first time Salt Lake City's been in a drought. Actually, Salt Lake City's been in 6 droughts since 1895. But this drought has serious implications on a city like Salt Lake. The Great Salt Lake being an example, where the surface level of the Great Salt Lakes has fallen to levels never seen before. And this drought is also affecting the economy and nature of Utah. The Great Salt Lake produces $1.3 billion for Utah's economy. Salt Lake is also a stop for birds migrating along the Pacific Airway, who take a break and eat before they fly to South America. And if nothing is done to prevent the Salt Lakes from drying up, they could dry up in the next 5 years. And with this drought and constant lack of water, it means that Salt Lake City is under constant threat of wildfires, which makes the air here even worse, with Salt Lake City at one point in time being rated the worst air quality in the world. Last, I would like to talk about diversity in Salt Lake City. Obviously, when I talk to locals, they tell me that Salt Lake City has become more diverse from when they grew up. And when I look at the statistics, they are right. Minorities now make up a quarter of Utah's population, with white people taking the top at 77% and Hispanics in second at 17.7%. I'm black in Utah. We only make up 2.7%. The rest are Asian, Pacific Islanders, and Native Americans. Since I've lived in Utah for 3 years, I've really never felt discrimination here, but I can see how some people don't feel included, especially when there aren't that many of your kind around. But generally overall, I enjoy Salt Lake City, and I see myself living here for years to come.